Hey kids, I'm excited. Woo! Welcome to Mr. Patrick's Laboratory. We've been doing all kinds of things these episodes about dissolving. Remember we talked about dissolving and solubility, and I have a lot of things today, and so we're going to walk through those. Now I'm going to start with some things I've learned since I talked to you last time. We were taking Skittles and we're trying different things out, dissolving it in water, dissolving it in milk and vinegar, and hopefully you got to try those things out at home. They're pretty cool. But there's this other one that I want to show you. They're these candies called gobstoppers. Now, a gobstopper is a candy that has different colors in it. So it has a center, and it might be red, and on top of that's yellow, on top of that's green, and then purple. So when you take it out of the box, it's purple. And when you put it in your mouth and you suck on it for a little bit, purple, you look, pull it out, it's green. Suck on it a little longer, pull it out, it's orange. It's different colors. And so I learned something really cool. Now remember, it's going to work right here just like we did with our Skittles. These are 5 different color gobstoppers. And I'm going to pour water in the middle, and I'm just going to let water touch them all. And this one takes a minute. And what's going to happen is really unique. Okay, it's really unique. They start to dissolve pretty quickly. Why? Because candy dissolves in our mouth real easy. But there's something really weird that happens. All right, Miss Christy, can you see the colors coming off? Mm-hmm. Perfect. So we're going to do another experiment. This one takes a little bit. And so we're going to look at another one for a minute. We're going to come right back to those. Here's what I want to do next. We're going to look at M&Ms, just regular M&Ms and water. Something really unique works here too. I'm going to take a little bit of water, and I'm going to take a package of just fun size M&Ms. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop those dudes in the water. Okay? And every one of them, how do you know they're M&Ms compared to Skittles? Yeah, they have a letter M on them. Yeah. And so I'm going to drop them in there like that. And I got some of them that drop like that. Yeah, there you go. And see the M's on them? Okay. Now, what I wanted to show you is they start dissolving. Look at that orange one already. That orange one has already fallen apart. That was the first one I dropped in there. Why did I drop orange? If you learn from the other episodes, because I like orange. And so I'm going to let them sit there. As they sit in water, they start to dissolve. Okay? But something really weird happens that I didn't know. I learned this one. That's why it's so cool, because I like doing cool stuff with candy. So I'm going to show you one that's been sitting there for a little bit. And this is a magic trick you can show your parents. Now, the color is all crazy looking, okay? But I want you to look on the surface of the water. I see the letter M. Do you see that letter M right there? Yeah, I see it on the camera. Here's what's crazy. When they make M&Ms, that letter M is a piece of paper. It's edible paper. And when they make those M&Ms, it's sort of like they put a sticker on food when they sell food. It's got the price on it. They put it on top of that M&M, and when you eat it, it dissolves. It doesn't hurt you at all. It's edible paper, but it has the letter M. And so what I want you to be able to do is this has been sitting there. I'm not going to tell you how long. And you can try it. You can drop the M&Ms. Don't waste the whole thing. Make sure you eat some yourself, because there's 1, 2, 3. Sorry, Miss Christy, there's none left. And so, check out what's happening in the one I started a while ago. Oh, man. Something's happening. Takes a little bit longer, but I'm not going to tell you how long. And all of a sudden, the letter M's come off. Now, what I would do better if I were doing it at home, see that letter M moving around? Okay? What I would do if I were at home and I wasn't trying to hurry on a video, I would make sure all these M&Ms have the letter M up. Okay? So that when you put the water, so the way I have it, there's only 5 of the 9 of them, or the 8 of them, that have the M up, but that's okay. You can check it out and you can see what's going on. Now, let's go back to the gobstoppers. Look what's happening. Gobstoppers are not made like Skittles. Look, the colors don't mix with one another. A gobstopper has color on top of color on top of color, and so what they've added into the coloring, they add a chemical, so if it's red and orange, they have a chemical between them so that they don't mix. And so when it dissolves, they still won't mix. And so you can see on the plate, the colors don't go together at all. They stay separated. They made that candy do that on purpose. So when you suck on it for a while, it's one color. Take it out of your mouth, it's changed colors. So you suck off different colors one at a time. Isn't that cool? They thought about that with the candy. So why am I doing this? Because I like candy. It's been fun, hasn't it? Now, I'm going to show you a different one. And we're going to work up to our big finale. Hey, by the way, at the very end, we're going to make rock candy on a stick that you can make at home. But I got to teach you a couple of things. Now, I'm going to do an experiment here that probably many of you have seen, and it's really messy. But I'm not going to do the messy version. I have Mentos, and I have Diet Coke. Now, you've probably seen people take a really big Diet Coke, and they'll 2-liter Diet Coke, and they'll drop Mentos in it, and it sprays everything and gets all over them. Well, I want to explain what happens on a small version, and I'm going to do a small version so you can see, because I'm in Mr. Patrick's laboratory in Miss Christie's kitchen, so I better not mess it up. So what's going to happen is, what's dissolved in here, we've been talking about dissolving. What makes a soda taste so good? It's the gas inside. Now listen, hear that? If I were to open it up like this, and I leave the cap off for about 3 or 4 hours, is it going to taste good? No. All the gas gets out. That's why you want to put the lid back on. So when you take a drink, you put the lid back on. So what we were talking about in the first thing with the candies is we were dissolving the sugars and the colors on the candy with our saliva. In this one, we have dissolved carbon dioxide gas. Okay, carbonation. And so that's what makes it taste good. If you let all that out, it's just sugar water. It doesn't taste as good. Now, what if we made all of that gas come out at the same time? Now, you probably had one where you picked it up and you dropped it and it turned all foamy. And do you open it immediately? Not unless you want a bath, okay? Because it all comes out. But what I'm going to do with the Mentos is I'm going to make them all come out at one time. Now, I need to explain. A Mentos is a candy, if you've ever eaten it before, it's not smooth. It's very rough on the outside, okay? Now, I want you to think about this. If you were swimming, and let's say you were swimming and you're going along, how do you get out? You have to grab the side of the pool and climb out, okay? Or if you've been swimming in the lake, you grab the ladder on the back of the boat and you climb out. This Mentos is really rough and it's really, really, really hard to see. But when you put it in your mouth, it looks smooth right now, but it's real rough, like a little bit of sandpaper on it, and it's really hard to see, but she's getting a pretty good video of that. And so what happens is, we'll flip it over, okay? And so what happens is this. When you go to climb out of a pool, you grab on the side of the pool and you climb out. So what's going to happen is this Mentos has all these little rough spots on it. Think of it as a little rock that you could grab on to pull yourself out of the lake or something like that. Well, what's going to happen is all this carbonation that's inside of here can then grab on these little spots, and all the carbonation, all that gas gets stuck on here and it all comes out and it tries to spray everywhere. So I'm going to do it in a really different way. I have 3 Mentos, just 3, inside this balloon. Oh, I have a 4th one. That's good. And so, woo! What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this balloon, I'm going to put it over the top of the bottle. And what's going to happen is Miss Christie just said to me, be careful. I'm going to. If it gets out of control, I'm going to go to the sink. But what's going to happen is I'm going to let all that gas out at one time. It's dissolved in there. Let's let it out. Here we go. Woo! Look at it all come out at one time. Look how crazy that is. Did it blow up? The balloon did. And look at the soda that went in there. Hear it buzzing or fizzing? But it stopped. It didn't make the balloon explode, did it? I got scared for a second. I didn't know exactly. I've seen it before, but I never tried it. And so all of it turned white. All of it came out. See, the Mentos are in the bottom. Okay? And look at all the bubbles. They're finishing up. I just used the bubbles to catch them real quick. Why? Because I didn't want it to spray everywhere. This one's a cool one. Okay, you can do this one with your parents. You might want to try it outside just in case. Notice, I didn't let go of the balloon. Okay? Now, I'm going to take it loose. Okay, everybody's safe. Woo! We're okay. And leave it in there. And let all that out. Okay? Why? Because I wanted to make sure it didn't get everywhere. So all that soda was dissolved in there. All that carbonation, I let it out all at one time. Now, why did I show you that one? Because I'm going to do 2 really cool things. We're going to make crystals, and then we're going to make rock candy on a stick. Now, I need some hot water, so I'm going to turn that on. And so they all work on that same premise. Now, did you catch it? When you have a Mentos, it was rough on the surface. When it's rough on the surface, it gave all that carbonation a place to grab on, and it all came out at one time. So what we're going to do is we're going to make crystals. Now, what we're going to use is just basic Epsom salt. Very cheap. You can buy it at the dollar store. That's what I did. And here's what I'm going to do. I need a cup of Epsom salt. Okay? Need a cup of it. And so I'm going to take it, a cup of Epsom salt. Now, parents, you don't have to use this much. You can use a 1/2 cup, okay? But I have a big jar. Now, what you want to do is you want to do this in some kind of jar. You're going to make crazy crystals. Different size jars look great, okay? And so I'm going to take a cup of Epsom salt. If you want to cut this whole recipe in half, you can, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick a color. Miss Christy, you get to pick what color. What color do you want?
Green.
She always likes green. I knew the answer. So I'm going to put 2 drops of green. And so I'm going to get those out of the way. So it's just food coloring. That's all I did. And then I need hot water. So I'm going to get that real quick. Okay? I need 1 cup of hot water. All right? So here's what I'm going to do. Pour it in there like that. Okay? And then I'm going to swirl it around. Now, what's happening is it's all dissolving. Let me turn the water off. Okay? It's all dissolving. Now, what I'm doing is I'm making a saturated solution. Now, parents, if you don't want to have this much, you can do half a cup of Epsom salt and half a cup of hot water. It's just tap water, okay? Getting it all to dissolve, or as much as I can. Now, all of it's not going to dissolve. When I'm done in a minute, I'm going to change directions. Remember, kids, there's 3 ways to make something to dissolve faster. Hot, I did that one on this one. Agitation, do you remember what that means? Shake it up or stir it up. That's sort of what I'm doing, isn't it? Okay? And then you can break it into smaller pieces. And we talked about all 3 of those. Now, I have a green solution. It's got Epsom salt in it. Green, because that's what Miss Christy wanted. And then I have the hot water. Okay, so it was 1 cup of Epsom salt, 1 cup of hot water, and I picked a color. Now, what I need is somewhere for the crystals to grow. Now, remind, when we did Mentos, they were rough, right? And that surface was where all those gas particles jumped on it. All came out at one time. It was crazy. All you need is a little rock. This is just a little rock. It's just a little pebble, okay? It's just a little pebble. It might even be a little broken piece of concrete. It doesn't even matter. I just need something for the crystals to grow on. So here's what I'm going to do. Drop it in the bottom. It didn't go exactly to the middle. That's okay. And then here's what you do. You put it in the refrigerator overnight, and the crystals will form. Let me show you what I mean. Here's one I made last night. I chose orange. Okay, just as a color so it really show up. I have a glass jar. Miss Christy's going to show you. I did exactly the same way. But in that one, I only did a 1/4 cup because that was a tiny jar. So I did a 1/4 cup of Epsom salt and a 1/4 cup of hot water and dropped a rock in it. Look at all the crazy crystals. All it did was make the Epsom salts come back to crystallize. Okay? And they crystallized. Okay? Now the other one is in a really cool place. Now, Miss Christy, watch what happens here. It's funny that you picked green. Because remember when you do this, remember where I said you put it in the refrigerator overnight. So I left the other one. I knew Miss Christy would pick green, so I made one last night that was green. Now it still has all the liquid in it. So here's what happens. I can see, and I'm gonna let her look from the surface or over the top. See the rock in the middle? All the crystals that formed on it, but it's hard to see the crystals, so I'm gonna pour out the extra water. So she doesn't have to watch me do that. I'm just gonna pour the water out real quick. All the extra water real slow down the sink so I don't get it on anything. Now, check out those crystals. They look different, okay? The slower the crystals form, the different the shapes they look, okay? And so you can see, now it's gonna fog up a little bit because it was cold, now it's warm in here, so let me take the fog off the outside of it. That's a little bit better. It's just warmer in here than it is in the refrigerator. And it does that overnight. It does it real easy. And so you can check out the crystals. So if you wanted to, you can see what the crystals do. You can take a spoon and you can break the crystals and you can see the difference. These are really long crystals compared to those. They just form different, okay? It doesn't matter what color you use. You could do clear, but I suggest you do a color so that you can actually see the crystals and the color gets caught up inside the crystals and you can see them. So they're very different. Doesn't matter what kind of jar, it can be a small jar, okay? So the crystals are all really compact there, or a bigger jar. In this jar this was a 1/4 cup of everything. This was a 1/2 cup of everything in the green one. And then you can see what's happening. Now, the most important thing I'm gonna tell you, and here it is. Super important. You can't eat those. Those are not to be eaten, they're to be looked at, okay? When you're done with it, take hot water, run hot water in the jar, and it'll all dissolve again, swirl it around, and you can pour it down the sink. That's to look at your forming crystals. So if we know how to form crystals, how about we make crystals out of something else that we can eat? Now we're going to use this same principle. We're going to make rock candy on a stick. And here's how it works, okay? None of that can we eat, but this one we can. Here's what we're going to do. Parents, and I'll put this down in the comments so that you can see it. You're going to need a 1 cup measuring device, okay? You're going to need 1 cup of water and 3 cups of sugar. 1 cup of water, 3 cups of sugar. It's a lot, I know, okay? But you've got to get it super saturated. It's got to let in more, it's got to take in more sugar than normal. So I had to do this before I started the video. I went to the stove, put it on a pot, put a cup of water, and then slowly, 1/4 cup at a time, mixed in until I got 3 cups of sugar in there. When I got all 3 cups of sugar in there, it's now very hot. And I poured it off into a container like this. So I'm gonna let her get a picture of that real quick so you can see what's going on. You can see the sugar. Baxter, the security guard, had to come in, sorry. And so you can see that it's not exactly clear, okay? It's so thick, okay? It's, you don't want to overheat it. You don't want it to caramelize. Parents, you don't want it to turn brown, okay? So I'm just dissolving it into the water. It's really thick. Now, here's what you're going to do, okay? What we're going to end up doing is we're going to have 2 cups, and then the other part you're going to need is a stick. Now, I suggest a skewer of some sort. All right, Baxter, I'll let you be a part of it. Come here. He likes rock candy on a stick. Yeah, I like it too. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a skewer. So I have to show you a full-size one real quick. Okay, so we had really long skewers. So all I did was I broke it in half. Okay, I just broke it in half. That's all I did. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I get to pick a color. Now there's some different things that you can do. Now parents, it depends on what you have at home. Okay, we have at our house different flavorings that you can use for like cakes and things like that. This one right here is peppermint oil. All it is, you can use it for the flavoring of this candy. This one right here is orange oil. I bet I'm going to use that one. You know anything about me if you watch my videos. I like orange flavoring, or butterscotch. Okay, or you could do vanilla flavoring. Do you not like that? Do you? Okay, you don't. He doesn't like butterscotch. We're not going to use butterscotch, but you can choose which one you want. Okay, so I'm just going to use a little orange oil in one of them. Hey, stop smelling that. Okay, I haven't even broke that open yet. Let's see if I can get that open. Might have to go without it real quick. See if the other one's open. Okay, all 3 of them, we hadn't used them yet. Okay, but you can choose. Okay, and so I'll just go without that real quick. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a color. Okay, so Miss Christy likes green. And I like red. Okay, I like orange. So let's see if I like the orange flavor. So I'm going to make it look like orange. And then I can add the orange flavoring in a minute if I want to. And let's see, how do I get orange? That's going to be red and yellow. Okay, and so all I'm going to do, hey Brado, can you take Baxter the security dog from me, please? He's not liking the flavoring here. Thanks, dude. And so let's see if I can get my orange oil open real quick. Okay, so as Miss Christy's showing that. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is as you take one of these, I'm just going to take the orange oil and I'm just going to take a single drop, and you just got to be careful, just go real slow. Okay. And this one's really thick. Now you can use different things. You could probably use vanilla extract as well. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to get my drop. There's my drop. That's all I need of it. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that really hot sugar solution that I had, and I'm going to pour that in here like this. Okay. And I'm going to pour it in here like this. Then we'll grab a spoon and I'm going to mix it up real quick. Here's my spoon. There's my orange one. Oh yeah. Boy, it's super thick. And I want it to have a lot of sugar in it, because I'm going to deposit that sugar on top of what I'm doing. Let me grab me another spoon real quick. Mix the green up. That's going to be Miss Christie's. Okay. So one more time. I had a cup of water, and I started boiling it, and then I put 3 cups of sugar in it, and then I poured it into a container that I can pour from. okay? And so you could actually make, this was not all the solution. This was just enough of the solution to do what I wanted. I have more left over if I want to have another. Now, how do I make the rock candy on a stick? Here's how I do that, okay? I made 2 of them, but I'm gonna show you what I did. These are gonna be the sticks I'm gonna use, but here's how you do it. I poured sugar on a plate, okay? Sugar on a plate, and I'm gonna take that stick. This time, I'm just gonna break this one. This is one I'm not gonna actually use, okay? But here's what I basically did. I'm gonna take the stick, and then I need to wet it on the end. Let me show you why. Just put a little water on it. And what's gonna happen is, I roll it in the sugar. When I roll it in the sugar, look what happens. The sugar sticks to it. Now, from what we learned in the last 2 things with the Mentos and making crystals, you have to have somewhere for it to grab onto. So I wanna just set that off to the side to dry. So I already have these 2 made, and I did them in advance. And so all of these crystals, this really rough right here, will allow the sugar in these to collect. So here's how you do it. Okay, I'm gonna do Miss Christie's. I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna put it into the solution, touch the bottom, lift up barely, and then I'm going to use a hair clip to hold it in place. Okay? Now, it's not touching the bottom. It's too close, so I'll pull it up just a little bit, and then I'm gonna let it sit there. Now, here's what's gonna happen. You already saw the crystals that I made out of the refrigerator, like this, and we said you can't eat those, and that's true. How did that happen? Remember when I made these crystals, I put them in the refrigerator overnight? How did I get such good crystals? The slower it cools off, the bigger the crystals. I want big crystals on this rock candy. So what I want to do is set it off to the side, somewhere in the kitchen on the side cabinet where nobody's going to bump it, and let it sit there for about 2 or 3 days. Now I know, you're like, I want to eat it now. If you'll wait 2 or 3 days, you'll have big crystals on the end of the stick. Now parents, this is important. When you're done, you don't have to use a hair clip. You could have used a paper clip assembly that you want, or whatever you want. You can just hold it across. Depends on how big a cup you're using, okay, really. Now, your stick can be longer. You can have a longer cup, and you can have a longer stick. It's all up to you, okay? You put sugar all up and down it, and you're ready. All those crystals are going to form right there. But when it's done in about 3 days, the top of the surface is going to be hard. It's solidified. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take a butter knife and just crack through it. It's sort of like ice. So you'll crack through it, through the top layer. So it's just going to be like a 1/4 inch down. Crack through it, and it's all liquid all the way. And you have crystals all over the stick. Now, when the crystals form, I don't want the stick touching the bottom of the cup, because then it will form to the bottom and no more crystals will form. So I want it a little bit off the bottom. Crystals will form as they form, as they form, as they form. So it's going to be around here. I'm building crystals, building crystals, building crystals. When I'm done, when that's down in there, it's going to actually have formed crystals under it that make it stick to the bottom of the glass. All right? So parents, so that you don't break your glass. Now notice I used glass containers because it was hot sugar liquid. Okay? What I want to do is take that glass, and let's pretend this one's ready. I just run hot water from the sink on the side of the cup really good, and it will melt the bottom, and it will release the stick. Pull the stick out, and your young scientist is ready to have rock candy on a stick. All right? Real quick through that again one more time. Cup of water, 3 cups of sugar until it all dissolves. You're going to pour it into the cups. You have flavoring, you have food colorings, you have a stick. That stick has been rolled in sugar. It was wet, had sugar on it, and it dried and had crystals on it like that. Okay? And then you put it down into your solution like this, touch the bottom, lift up a little bit, and then have an assembly to hold it on there. So be ready, some kind of hair clip or something, and then you let it sit there. How long, kids? 2 or 3 days. And after 2 or 3 days, you'll have rock candy. We've done all kinds of cool stuff with dissolving. Unsaturated, saturated, super saturated. These are super saturated, and I'm getting all that sugar to stick to the stick. Super saturated inside that Diet Coke, and it all came out at one time. Super saturated, and I made crystals. We were dissolving things. We had a great time, and most of it was candy. I had a great time on Mr. Patrick's Laboratory. Come back and see me next week. We're going to have some more fun together. Hope you meet me then.